Good morning and welcome back. Today we are starting a new project. I know what you're going to tell me. You're going to say, you need to finish the projects you've already started. Well, a true quilter always has lots of projects going, so I am totally a true quilter. Because I do have a lot of projects going, but I must start this one. It's not a want, it's a need to start this one. We had a customer come into the shop. Her name is Patricia Harbaugh, and she brought the gorgeous quilt, the most gorgeous quilt. And well, she had come by and she'd bought the fabrics from us, and she brought the quilt when she finished it to show it to us. And you know me, I loved it. I told her I gotta make that one now. So that's what I'm doing. She told me where she got the pattern, and it is on Riley Blake's website. This pattern can be found on Riley Blake's website, and if you go to RileyBlakeDesigns.com, search under free content, then under that click patterns. From there click roly poly, and then scroll down until you see this pattern. What we're going to need to get it started is this pattern. You'll need a 2.5 inch strip set of fabrics, the little rollers, the rollings, the jelly rolls, the 2.5 inch strip sets, whatever you want to call them. And then a 5 inch set of fabrics. Now mine are coordinating. You don't necessarily have to have them coordinating, but I did want mine coordinating. So mine is the same set, the 5 inch squares and the jelly roll. And this happens to be the same line that she did when she brought her quilt in to show it to me. This is the same stuff she bought from us, and I loved it so. I mean, I loved it. So that's what I'm making. I have picked my backing fabric, and it is just a cream solid. We have every color solid that Riley Blake makes, the confetti cottons. We have every one of them. We also have other brands of solids as well. So if you're looking for, there's a piece of fuzz on this one. If you're looking for any solids, check it out on our website, sewcharmingquiltshop.com, SEW charmingquiltshop.com, and you will find them there. We have plenty of solids. That's what you'll need. The 5 inch set, the 2.5 inch roll set, the background fabric, and it says on here for the background fabric, you will need 2.5 yards. And then it tells you the binding and the backing and all that. But we're not ready for the batting, the binding, the backing. So we're stopping with these supplies now. If you want to do this with me, I'm going to do this in segments so that if you want to do it with me, you can follow along. And also it'll give me time. I'll have time to, I'll put this first part out, and then I'll have time to work on the next set, and you will too. So if you're doing it with me, follow along with these videos. I'll put them in a playlist so that if you're going along with me, or if you're taking a little bit longer to do it, whatever, you can just find those along in the playlist. So let's get started. I forgot to tell you that the size of this quilt says it will be 58 by 72. 58 inches by 72 inches. And what I'm going to start with on the cutting of this background fabric is it says I need 9 strips at 2.5 inches wide. So I will cut this into 2.5 inch strips and have 9 of them. Then I'm going to subcut those 9. It says to subcut those 9 into 2.5 by 12.5 inch strips. So each 2.5 inch strip I make, there'll be 9 of them. I'll cut those 9 strips into 2.5 by 12.5 inch segments. I will put those to the side. Then I'll take my next set, and I'll need 15 strips at 2.25. So I'll cut 15 strips at 2.25, and then I will subcut those as well. I'll need 40 2.25, let's see, 2.25 by 5 inch rectangles, and then 40 2¼ by 8½ inch rectangles. So that are the size cuts you're going to make. Now I'm going to go over to the cutting table and I'm going to start cutting. Now that I've got my 2¼ inch strips cut, I'm going to take my 2¼ ones and I'm going to go ahead and subcut those. So I'll have 2 strips here, 3, 4. This is 4 strips. I'm going to do 5 strips. And I'm going to line them up. And I think I'll divide them in half. Like that. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the ends off so that I can make sure that they're all even and straight and there's no selvage. So there's that. Now I know I've got 5 strips right here. It says I need 40 at 2¼ by 5. So I'm going to cut these to 5 inches. I'm going to cut these to 5 inches. And these to 5 inches. And each set gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Let's see, I needed 40 of them. So I'll just need one more cut of the 5 inches because this gave me 10. So that gives me 40. Now because I'm going to be taking these with me and sewing at different locations, I'm going to take a piece of paper for each set. So this one is 2¼ by 5. So I'll write 2¼ by 5. So I will put those in a Ziploc to keep them separated so I don't confuse my pieces. Then I'm going to go back to the pattern and it says I need 40 at 2¼ by 8½. So I'll put 2¼ on this one by 8½. Then I'll do the same thing with these. Line these up. And there's 2. Here's the third one. Then I'll take 2 more and there's 5. Reason I'm doing the 5 at a time is math. It's a whole lot easier this way. I'll cut these selvage pieces off. And now they're all straight edge down here. It says 2¼ I know my 2¼ is this way. So I need 8½ this way. I'll line it up to 8½ and I'll cut. And because I did 5 strips, and each strip has a front and a back because it's folded in half, so there's 10. So here's my stack of 10. Then I'll do another 8½. And there's my second stack of 10. Now I need 40 of these. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'll cut this excess off down here. And I'll do the same thing I did a minute ago. 8½. There's 10 more. Then 8½. And there's 10 more. So here's my 40, 10, 20, 30, and 40. Fold them in half to fit this bag. Put my paper with my fabrics in here. And now those are ready. So my next thing to do is says to cut these, subcut these. So I subcut those. I have to take 9 strips at 2.5, which were these right here. For these 9 strips that were 2.5 by width of fabric, it tells me to subcut them into 2.5 by 12.5 inch strips. So I'm gonna take a couple of these and line them up. I'm gonna do just like I did last time by cutting off this selvage down here. And then I'll take 12.5 on my ruler, line it up, and then cut those. So I've got the 2.5 by 12.5 inch strips. I'm gonna do that with all of these, and then we will be ready to move on. Once I've cut them all, I'm gonna fold them in half, put them in my bag, and then put my label that says 2.5 by 12.5 in there. And now my pieces are ready to go. So all the pieces you'll need will be the jelly roll, the charm pack, the 2.25 by 5 inch, the 2.25 by 8.5 inch, the 2.5 by 12.5 pieces, and the 9 strips of 2.5 width of fabric. Now I originally had these cuts wrong, and Miss Patty J figured it out and corrected me, and I appreciate her so very much. And I have corrected that, so it is all right now. Now we're ready to continue. Thank you, Miss Patty J. I appreciate you. On my bags, when I labeled them as such. This one, the 2.25 by 5, the pattern calls this piece F, so I added F to my paper. The 2.25 by 8.5 cut, the piece in the pattern is called G. So this is labeled F, this is labeled G, and I just labeled this one 2.5 by 12.5. This is gonna be my sashing, so it didn't really need a label. So that's what my 3 pieces are. Now I'm ready to start using my fabrics. So it tells you to take your 2.5 inch strip roll of fabrics, and we're gonna start there. Okay, so we're gonna take our roll of fabric, we're gonna open it up. I don't know why I like doing this part of it. It's just so pretty when I roll it out. But anyway, I'm going to take them and I'm going to kind of just break them into colors. I don't want all my creams to all my greens to all my blues. So I'm gonna make a blue stack, even if it's different shades. I'm gonna make a cream stack. I'll put that one over there. A gold stack. This is more like a taupey gray. And then a purple stack. I'm gonna stack them like this, and then I'm gonna push them over to the side. This tells me at first to take 2 different strips and sew them together. And I'm gonna make 15 sets like that, and they're gonna call that set A. So I'll take 1 strip of whatever color and 1 strip of another color, and I'll lay them right sides together, and I'll sew down the long side of that. And when I iron it open and they're sewed together, that is what strip A is called. We'll get started with these 2. I'll take them and sew them just like this. I'm not even going to worry about pinning them because I can line them up as I go. And I'll just start sewing at 1/4 inch. And I'll sew all the way down this side. Line them up as I go. Once I get to the end of this set, then I will iron them open, and I'm going to do this 15 different times. So I'll have 15 sets of 2 strips sewn together. Again, that's what we're calling set A. Once you get your strips sewn together and ironed, this is what it should look like. And we'll have 15 of these. So I'm going to keep going with these and come back and finish from there. Once you sew all your strips like this, where you've got 2 sewn together, and we ended up with 15 sets like this, you'll take 2 of these and sew them together the same way we sewed these together lengthwise to form this unit. And this unit will be called, let's see, set B. We'll need 6 of these. So I've got 6 of these sets sewn together, which means 4 jelly rolls sewn together. There's 6 of them. And then that leaves me with some extra of the 2 units. So what I'm going to need to do with those is make a unit called set C. So I'll take one of these and one of these and sew them together lengthwise. So now my set C will be 6 strips sewn together. So I'll have all the A's will be gone and they will be now forming a set C. 6 strips together. I'll need 3 sets. We've now sewn our strip sets together, so we should end up with 3 sets that are 6 strips wide, and then 3 sets that are 4 strips wide. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the cutting table and we're going to start sub-cutting, and then we'll start piecing our blocks together. The first sub-cut we're going to do is we're going to take our unit of the 4 strips, which is set B. We'll take our rotary cutter and a ruler, and I'm just going to cut off these selvage edges and discard those. And then what I'm going to need to cut is I want 40 sets that are 2.5 inches wide by 8.5 inches tall. So what we'll do is we'll cut these strips 2.5 inches wide so that they'll look like this. Instead of sewing all these little blocks together, we're cutting them and sewing them together like this, which is a whole lot faster. And when I'm cutting these, I've doubled over my strip so that I can cut 2 at a time. So there's 2, there's 4, 6, and I'm going to keep going until I get to 40. Once we've cut the 40 strips like this, we're going to take the big strip set, which is the 6 wide, and we're going to sub-cut them the same way. So I'm going to take the big ruler and I'm going to cut this selvage off to straighten off this edge. And now this, I need it 12.5 inches by 2.5. So I'll line my ruler up with the 2.5 and I'll cut them, and I'll end up with 40 pieces like this that are 6 blocks wide. I have cut all of my strip set. I've got my 6-inch strip, my 6 block strip set and my 4 block strip set. And I've got my background pieces, my charm packs, and now I am ready to start assembling my blocks. But I'm going to pause here. I told you I'd break this into segments. So this will be the first segment. So you cut all your fabrics, you get everything ready, you get your strip sets ready, and then we will start assembling. So stay tuned for part 2 to finish this up. And now I'll show you what it looks like. I know I put a cover photo on this video of the quilt, but let me show you Patricia Harbaugh with her quilt and a close-up of the quilt so you can see what it will look like when we get finished. After that, you guys have a great rest of your day. Enjoy what you're doing. Get in that sewing room and happy quilting.